here's the question. So we have talking about personal privacy. We have Let's Stay Safe. Is there really a need for a board book? What's the need for this book?
Amazing. Okay. I love that question because it brings us right into the crux of this specific piece. It's never a kid's responsibility to protect themselves, it's always on the adult. And so when we're comfortable with the topic, it's easier, right? The younger we start, the easier it is for us. When you begin when they're really little, it becomes just part of the narrative. It's the way the child grows up. There's a way that it becomes just part of your parenting as opposed to the topic. That is prevention.
Welcome to Impact Today,
The podcast where we explore important messages for parents and children together. I am Avital Goetz
and I am Binyamin
of Growing Impact Publications. Join us as we dive into the books written by Mrs. Bracha Goetz,
my mother,
and my mother-in-law, best-selling author of 40-plus children's books, including Let's Stay Safe and Talking About Personal Privacy. We'll be bringing you a behind-the-scenes tour, uncovering the joyful and important messages hidden in each unique book, and we'll learn how to utilize these books as tools in our parenting and in our own lives as well. Welcome to another episode of Impact Today. I'm so excited to be joined today by two very, very special people. Of course, you all know Mrs. Bracha Goetz, best-selling author of now 47 children's books and one book for adults, her candid memoir of her journey through Judaism. And our super special guest today, Dr. Shani Verschleiser. We are so excited to share. The reason why both of you are on here together is because this summer we have a brand new book co-authored by both Bracha Goetz and Shani Verschleiser called My Special Body. It is a first book about personal safety, a board book for the youngest of ages 2 to 5. There is nothing like this out there for the Jewish Orthodox world. And this is a groundbreaking book. It's a special book that hopefully will make it into every single Jewish home. So we're excited to have you both on here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And we're just going to jump right in. And I wanted to ask you, Shani, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and about the work that you do you run an organization called Magenu, and then we'll kind of transition into how you saw the need for a book like this.
Of course, for sure. Okay, so happy to be here. I'm like so happy. I think I'm I feel like I'm floating a little bit just even seeing the sample. First time I'm seeing the sample. So a little bit about me. Okay, so I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have a private practice in Brooklyn, New York. I primarily treat trauma specifically, and even more specifically, child sexual abuse through the years. I do mostly private practice is kind of 16, 17 and up, and then through my organization, kind of to the youngest little one. So it's kind of like sexual abuse from beginning through the lifespan. I started Magenu about, I'm gonna say, probably over 15 years ago. Just because when I was starting out in my world, I was working with a lot of teens, like a lot of teens at risk, a lot of drug abuse, alcoholism, learning issues. There was just a lot going on. And what I found over and over and over was that there were so many of these kids that had experienced sexual abuse in their lifetime, right before they were 18. And I was very I knew this was something that happened, but I did not realize the magnitude at that point. And I started to really think about it. At that time, my husband was one of the kind of beginning early founders of Our Place for Teens at Risk. And we're talking about this whole topic, and I would ask him, it's great to be here now where we're helping the kids get to rehab and we're helping with therapy and we're doing all these kind of reactive treatment. But how do we go backwards? How do we go into the prevention world so we can stop the numbers? There's just something feels so wrong. There's something we need, that we're missing. And that sort of started my journey into kind of doing a deep dive into what's out there, what already exists, and creating this organization, Magino, where I kind of like developed curriculums, and it's been a whirlwind for the last 15 years, but pretty amazing.
Wow. And you're in schools, correct? Schools adopt your curriculum. So how many schools around would you say you're in?
Yeah, so at this point, I don't even know the number. I stopped counting. I'm like kind of like a one woman show, and my husband helps me a lot. But which you guys know, you know how this works. But at this point, we're for sure in over 45 schools. It's pretty incredible. We have like a full curriculum for nursery through high school on prevention, and I do a lot of parent work. Currently, after this, we'll talk about the book, and I'm also working on a family box for families, like to teach prevention in the home from like birth all the way up till about age 12. So that's being worked on. So there's just a constant, like, piece by piece by piece, like drop. I think of it as like a drop at a time.
Wow, this you're doing such important work. It's really the fact that you saw what was happening and then said, "Well, how can we prevent it?" That takes a vision. That's instead of just trying to put a band-aid on it once you're there. And that's helped to change the face of the Jewish world. And it's so amazing that the two of you came to partner together because you guys are like it's like this super fireworks when you come together. So I want to turn to you, Mrs. Goetz. Can you tell us how you first became involved in this topic and writing the safety books for kids? Just so people are aware, this is not your first safety book that you've written. This is actually the fourth safety book. I'll show you, I have them here. We have Let's Stay Safe, which is in how many different languages?
Yeah, a number of
A
different
number of
languages,
different
right?
languages and over
Yeah.
100,000 homes. This is an amazing book. It has all normative safety issues in addition to one or two pages on personal safety. And then we have this book talking about personal privacy, which is all about personal safety. And then we have Let's Swim Safely, which is another board book on swim safely with all the images in here. All the illustrations are perfectly tznius. They're all modest so that it's comfortable for everyone of all different types to read with their children. So now, can you let us know a little bit about your background and how you come to be this amazing writer for this type of hard conversations, hard topics?
Yeah, well, it started for me. My background was in public health. I, when I studied at Harvard, I was majoring in psychology, but I wanted to become a psychiatrist. And I took courses at Harvard Medical School and the Graduate School of Public Health in public health. This is what fascinates me. So, um, and then I combined that with writing. So what happened is when my whole life changed, when I became Orthodox, and I began living in Israel and left medical school in the middle. So everything changed, and I devoted myself in a whole different direction. Um, and what happened, let's see, I started raising my children at home. When I decided to finally go back to work, I was either going to go back to school then or find an interesting job. I did find a really wonderful job to do, working with the elderly people. But then there was an advertisement for that they wanted to start a program for teens that were going off the derech, teens that were um, maybe brought up Orthodox but stopped being Orthodox. And here I had worked so hard in my life to become Orthodox. So I was fascinated by this, and I said, I'm going to go for that job. So I became the coordinator of the program, which was a big brother, big sister program. And just like with Shani, I found so many of the cases of the teens that were becoming less Orthodox that it was because of abuse, because of sexual abuse. It was it was shocking to, and the drug abuse also that happened because of sexual abuse. So, and in addition, um, since I was coordinating the Big Brother Big Sister program, we had so many trainings in watching out for people that may try to become volunteers for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
We had to be able to try to screen them out. So I had many trainings, and I read a lot of literature on the subject. I was not familiar with this subject at all until I really delved into it because of the job. And I worked for about 20 years uh, coordinating this program. So I learned a lot. And I saw the wonderful work actually that Debbie Fox was doing, but there were no picture books yet in the homes. And so I spoke with her and I saw what there was a need to fill. And then I approached Rabbi Har. Actually, my manuscript was rejected from every publisher. Nobody wanted to publish this.
Which book was
But then
that?
okay, it's confusing because it was actually the manuscript for the personal privacy book. But then in midstream, after studying Debbie Fox's works, I decided, no, I think what we need is the Let's Stay Safe type of book to begin with in the Orthodox community, just showing all these mainstream safety measures, guidelines for children, and putting right in the middle of it also about guidelines for personal safety. So I switched midstream into that, and Rabbi Horowitz helped to get that book published by Art Scroll. It was a lot of work, so I'm so grateful for all his efforts to do that. And so it was that manuscript that got published first. And then later on, when the world was ready for it, the original manuscript, which was just focused on personal privacy, was later published. Rabbi Bach was the one who supported that with Project Innocent Heart, and that was published by Feldheim. I think it was like 3 years later. So a lot changed from when Let's Stay Safe got published till personal privacy got published. Even my name wasn't on Let's Stay Safe. There was so much fear surrounding it that they didn't want my name to be on it. They were afraid I'd get backlash. And with personal privacy, there was no problem. It was never that my name didn't have to be on it because there was so much stigma had already dissolved, that people were no longer afraid to teach their children, proactively teach them within Orthodox Jewish homes about how to prevent sexual abuse of children.
So that is leading me into my next question. How the Orthodox Jewish world, the Jewish world at large, has evolved from not speaking about this topic at all to now having these books and now this new board book for even younger children. And your books and your work, Shani, have helped to create this evolution of where we are today. And can you explain more how you've seen it evolve, where we were, where we are, where you hope that we'll get to? If you want to start, Bracha Goetz.
Oh, I'm thrilled with what the changes. Of course, there is so much more that needs to be done for sure. And that's why we are creating this book now. Because years ago, they would say, oh my goodness, to teach this to the preschool Orthodox children, that's not going to happen. And now people are welcoming it. They are craving it. And they're so happy for even younger children to be able to learn about this now, in such a sweet and gentle way, because that's the way to learn joyfully. We can take any subject, and if we understand it well, we can present it in a way that can be absorbed even by the youngest of children.
Perfectly said. I love that. I love that you just said that because I completely agree. I feel like going back in time to when I started this work, I used to everyone told me, like, you're not going to get anywhere. There's no way, no school is going to take you in. I got a lot of that. And I kept saying, listen, we have to start somewhere, and like, we're going to try. And like, I would go back to the school like once, twice. I kept going back, almost like, please, like, let me help you, like, just please, just let, right? And it was one of those, a lot of angst. I had, like, really, really, Baruch Hashem, I had, my mentor was Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald, Alav Shalom. And he was a huge proponent of like really like giving me a lot of chizuk in the early days, because it was really challenging. A lot of like up against, I was called. I mean, you can imagine like what was happening, right? About how dangerous I am trying to like talk about this topic. And also hearing, once you put yourself out there, and especially being a trauma therapist and then speaking about this, one of the things I find a lot is every place I go to, once I'm talking about this in an open way, like, survivors end up coming over and end up disclosing. It's just the reality. It's like almost like, whoa, like somebody can hear this, like, and then they'll tell me. I've never been in a school, any school I've been in, that I haven't gotten at least minimum 3 to 4 disclosures from the grown-ups. The teachers, the secretaries, the principals, like somebody in the school. That was really tough for me in the early days. Like I had to figure out how to like, kind of have boundaries and like really get a little bit of a tougher inside. And Rabbi Greenwald helped me a lot with that piece, in the early days. And yeah, and it was just sort of like bit by bit. I used to get phone calls back, like we're going back like 10 years ago. Like, I'm not going to tell you my name. I'm calling from this and this school, but like, and I work here, but I can't tell you who I am. And this is what's going on here. And you must come here and you have to figure out how to get in here. But there was so much, like, nobody wanted to talk about this in the open. It was a lot of secretive, like, help me, but all underground. And it made things really complicated. And today, flash forward, listen, we have a ways to go, but I'm getting phone calls straight out. Here's what happened. This is what's going on in my school, my community, in my synagogue. Like, could you come and do this? Or can we start by, helping the middle school? I want you to say everything. I don't want you to cover anything up. Like, it's fabulous, really, really fabulous to see from the then to the now. And I believe it is the world has shifted, for good and for bad. I think that you can't ignore this anymore. We live in a very tough world where, from my perspective, I feel the same way as Mrs. Goetz, in the sense of like joyful positivity. As long as you're comfortable with what you're saying, you can say anything. And the reality is that it doesn't have to be a scary topic. It's the kind of thing where this is a reality. Once you know it's a reality and you accept it, now your job becomes, how do you give this over in a way that's going to be digestible, easy, manageable. You don't have to go against your values. It's the kind of, it's just, there are so many ways to do this, and we're open to it now, which I think is beautiful. It's going to save so many more children. And the research is showing that the numbers are being lowered because of prevention. And so that's huge. I mean, that's what else do we need?
That's amazing. And I think a point that you said is that if you're comfortable with the information, you can speak about it. And that's, I think, part of where the books come in, because as parents, I'm not a trained trauma specialist. And as much as now I see how much prevention and awareness is helpful and can save my own family's life, where do I start? And I think that's where these books, all of these books, Let's Stay Safe, talking about personal privacy, it gives parents an easy springboard for conversation. It's not that you have to know all the answers, but you can read it comfortably together with your child, and you can know that you're helping them. It's giving you the words that you might not have yourself. And I think that's what's so important. But here's the question. So we have talking about personal privacy. We have Let's Stay Safe. Is there really a need for a board book? What's the need for this book? What was the need that you saw that you thought that this board book for ages 2 to 5 would fulfill that we were missing in our world?
Amazing. Okay. I love that question, because it brings us right into the crux of this specific piece, which is I believe very strongly that the first of all, from multiple perspectives, the younger you start prevention, like this is one of the main questions I get like a lot, right? When do you start, or how early do you start, or isn't that too little? The answer really to the question is you can start literally from the time your child is born, right? And what does that mean? The beginning pieces is about you as the adult, right? How do you notice this topic? What do you know about like raising this child in a way that's going to be giving them the ability to communicate, to feel like they can tell you things, right? To feel like they have the ability to have body autonomy, to understand what it's like to be comfortable with a topic like this. That's for us as the adults, right? It's never a kid's responsibility to protect themselves. It's always on the adult. And so when we're comfortable with the topic, it's easier, right? The younger we start, the easier it is for us. The easier it is for us because it's much more challenging as a parent to speak to your 10-year-old, your 13-year-old, your teenager about these topics. When you begin when they're really little, it becomes just part of the narrative. It's the way the child grows up. There's this sense of boundaries and a communication and autonomy. There's a way that it becomes just part of your parenting as opposed to the topic. That is prevention. I work with a lot of survivors, okay, and I can tell you, like, I have a lot of survivors that have been told in their lives, when they were little, like, no one should touch the private parts of your body, right? And yet they're still, right, they were still victimized. So clearly that's not the only answer, right, to give this like piece of information where we drop this in some point in their lives. The goal is to build children that understand from a really, really early age this understanding around we can talk about this. There are ways that this sort of is just part of our lives. You can be your own person. It like esteems the child from the inside. It gives language for the parents to be able to bring this up from the time they're younger through like as they're getting older. It's the most, it's not a scare tactic, right? A lot of parents get very like, I'm going to scare this child. It's not about that. It's helping families build everyday health, right? That's really what it is. Everyday healthy habits, supporting safety, communication, consent from the time that child is super, super young. It's an amazing thing to watch a child from the time they're little understand these concepts versus the kids that are really, really, it's not even on their radar, and then all of a sudden they're being told something when they're older. It's disjointed a little bit. It's not impossible, but it's much healthier if we're starting from the time that kid is really little.
And children thrive from having these boundaries and knowing what's safe and what's not, right? Ima, I've heard you talk about that before, that these books are not scary. They make kids feel more safe. Is that correct?
I'm always surprised. Children come up to me and children tell me that these are their favorite books. I'm like, wait a minute, no, this is not what I expected. I did not expect these to be the children's favorite books because I even understand parents. Parents call and thank me. They tell me how these books have saved their lives, but I don't expect children to be excited about it. And that's the thing. They love having the guidelines. They actually feel safer in the world knowing what to watch out for. It when you have guidelines, then you feel actually more free to be in the world. It's not like the whole world is a scary place anymore. It changes. And I want to say also that when I was when my own children were growing up, all we taught children about was fear of stranger danger. And that's why also these books are so important, because that's very rare to have a problem with strangers. It's as we know, the statistics are, it's way over 95% that it's people that the family knows and trusts who are the perpetrators. So that's another game-changing effect of these books, to recognize that, yes, it's in our communities, it's people that dress like you and me. That doesn't mean they can't be a perpetrator. And that opens our eyes to understand this, because this is something we did not think before. And we weren't wary of people, and we had a naive trust as parents for people that we shouldn't be trusting. So it's really, really important, all this education, because when we understand who the real perpetrators are, they're people that we know and trust in our lives. And that's why it's so important to educate children as young as possible. Again, not in a threatening, scary way, like you explaining, Shani, in a very normal and calm way that they understand it, and so they feel very readily they'll be able to communicate with you and let you know if there's any kind of problem or any kind of confusion in their lives that doesn't feel right to them.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think that a lot of parents, like a lot of us as parents, we didn't get those kind of conversations. So it feels kind of scary to come forward and even give them over. So that's why one of the reasons why these books are so great, because you might not have the language, right? You might not know how to say this or how to bring the topic even up for the first time. These are great springboards for conversations. And what's so cool about this board book, I was actually looking it over this morning before this talk that we're doing, just to kind of like go through each page again. And I'm like, can I just say I'm blown away by the two of us, because each page is a world of lessons. It's so deep, and as a parent, you might not recognize the depth that I know, that Mrs. Goetz know when we're in terms of like what we're saying. But when you're reading it and your child asks you questions, because that's what kids do, right? They ask questions about everything. It is a springboard for topics, and we might not have the language or the education, but we can use the books anyway. And what you said about kids needing that structure or those pieces, it's 100% true. Children need equal parts nurture and structure. They need both in order to feel okay and to grow up in a healthy way. And so this is about, structured rules. It's about figuring out what to do. Body safety like this is about teaching skills. It's not about fear, about every fearing everyone. It's about skills so that you as a parent can allow your child to experience the world and know that they are going to be okay. I have to tell parents who are listening, I have children, Kanai and Hara, and I know probably like the most horrific stories that you could possibly know, okay? I would never tell you any of this, because why should you have to hold it? I'm holding it, right? It's a lot. And my kids still go to sleepaway camp, and they still go to friends to sleep, for play dates and sleepovers, and they're still out in the world. I don't wrap them in bubble wrap, right? You would think that I'd be terrified. But the opposite happens. The more I know, the more I discuss, the more it's open, the less fearful I am, because the more I know that they know what like it's a topic we're talking, we know what to look for, what to avoid. We have rules on certain things. I have a lot of guests by my table, right? I told you I'm very involved with teens and at risk and all these pieces. Every holiday I have lots of guests, lots of people by my table. How do I do it? I structure, right? What are the rules before they come over? How do we do this, right? What do we need to know? Can we review the body safety rules? It becomes part of parenting. It's kind of the way it is. The goal is literally the children grow up knowing their bodies matter, their voices matter. They have trusted adults in their life to be able to talk to. What is a trusted adult? These are like the foundational pieces. And this book is like that first amazing piece that once this is in place, everything afterwards, every other conversation afterwards about the topic is so much easier. It's just so much easier.
It sounds like it's starting an open dialogue, right? That's the best thing that you can have with your child, is that they know you're not scared to talk about this, that you're there for them. This is building that foundation. And at the back of this book, we have here some really, really wonderful tips for parents. These are the basic safety rules. You don't have to worry about I don't know anything. This will get you started, right? Just if you have nothing, this will start for you, your education as a parent. I know that for myself and my husband, we kind of felt like, oh, we know a little bit about it. We have Let's Stay Safe and we have talking about personal privacy, but like it's never really gonna happen to us. Like that stuff happens to other people, no one that we know, no one in our circles. We're good. And we had a startling reality check where we were pretty close to it. And that kind of moment was like, oh my gosh, this stuff really happens to people like us, to our friends, to our communities. No one is in the clear. As much as you think, I'm good, I don't need this, you're living in La La Land. I was living in La La Land, and here we are, selling these books. And my mother-in-law wrote the books. And how could it be that we're so close to it? But the thing is that these books do help. These books do help. They save lives. They do prevent. We were having a conversation with someone, and they're like, "Do the books really do anything?" Like, okay, it's a book, but like at the same time, like your kid will read Let's Stay Safe and then an ice cream truck pulls up and they might just run off. So do these books really make a difference? And that's my question. Is there evidence or anecdotal evidence? Have you seen these books making a difference in people's lives?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I hear it every place I go, and people just email me or call me all through these years now. Many times it's people reading the books to children, and the children disclose for the first time to the parents. It's that happens a lot, and then the prevention happens too, where because they've read the book, they're able to avoid the painful situation while another child hasn't. It's incredible. So we really want these to be widespread for everybody to be able to have this really basic information to open the conversation in your homes in a really pleasant and sweet way, so the children feel completely comfortable coming to you with even the slightest doubt in their mind about if something was all right that was happening. Often it can happen between children themselves with their peers, and they need to be able to come and talk to you about it, and so that you can check out if a situation is troublesome or not. So it's step one, and it's essential.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that when we think about like, do the books, are they impactful, or do they change things? I think parents really have to hold on to that you are impactful, right? When you purchase the book and you take the time, whatever time that is, like 10 minutes of quality time before bed. We're all busy. We have a lot going on. We get it. Like we all get it, right? This is just life. It's not about quantity, it's about quality, right? Even if you take 10 minutes before bedtime and you sit with your child and you read a book like this, the book is the springboard. You are the person you're engaging with your child. You allow the child to ask a question, right? You sit there, and even if you don't know the answer, right? Oh, it's a great question, right? Let me think about that and I'll get back to you because it's such an important question. It gives you, the books are another tool. It's a tool that helps with language. It helps with opening up a topic that might be really tough to open up without the book, right? And it gives you the ability to hear what your kid has to say, right? You can say, if you're reading a page and you stop and you're like, whoa, like, I feel like I would feel a little funny in that situation. Like, I wonder what that would be like for you. You're opening up topics where it just might not happen any other way. So, is it like, oh my gosh, it's magic, you're going to give the kid the book and everything's going to be fine? No, this is on you. By the way, one of the things I think is also really important is, as a parent, is being consistent. So not the book is for the kids, but the book's also for you. The book is for you as a parent as you're reading it to learn, because we don't always know ourselves. And once we're learning it together with our children, oh, here's that situation. Let me follow through. And then you can go back to the book with your child and be like, look, that happened today. And look what we did, right? How cool is that? So this is about like really, like you are your best, you're your child's best advocate, best supporter, best protector as it should be.
That's why we're called Growing Impact Publications. Impact, important messages for parents and children together. That's what I feel like you may hear us constantly saying is that these books are just as much for parents as they are for the children. This is your learning together with your child. This is our best learning ground for, we don't necessarily have parenting classes before we have our first child, but this is how we're learning alongside them. And I want to also point out the pages in here, there is nothing scary in here. First of all, Peril Rubin did an amazing job illustrating it. They are sweet, soft illustrations. We also included different children with disabilities. So it's inclusive and it's just really simple, sweet. There is nothing like you don't have to be worried that you're going to scare your child. There is no scaring tactics in here. This is a sweet and gentle book. These are just the little bits of a starter for this is meant for young children. And I want to say that as my husband and myself, we publish my mother-in-law's books and we also sell them. And when I'm doing a sale and I see mothers of young children coming, some people ask me, oh, like, what book should I get? Because thank God there's so many. And I say, well, do you have the safety books yet? That's like every family should have the safety books. And they'll be like, some of them are like, my kid's so little. And that I think is what I'm so excited that now I can say to them, you don't have to get those yet. This is the pre-book. You have this, you're set until they're age 6 when they can really more understand talking about personal privacy. And I think something that I've learned from working with my mother-in-law is that I love this. I love telling this to people because it was like an eye opener for me is just like you take your child every year for their well visit, these books are not a once and done. Every year you can reread it with your child and they can understand it on a deeper level. You'll see them developing, you'll see their mind developing about what they've seen in their life, and they can understand it and really like put it to use you'll see their mind developing with this topic. And it's not scary for them if it's something that it's just natural. It's not, they're not afraid to talk to you about it. They know you won't get all worked up about it. It's just a gentle conversation.
Right. And with these kind of like it's like a cuddly kind of book. So like the great thing about books is that children sit there on the couch and they just keep rereading and rereading it. Once the parents have read it to them, they internalize it, they memorize it. So they're memorizing these guidelines. It's becoming a part of them.
And even
That's
just
what,
looking at the illustrations,
yeah,
if it's very few words, it's very few pages, but if your child is even not up to there, you can just point out things in the illustrations and they'll still be getting something.
That's right. That's right. And I think, for any parent who's listening and finds it difficult to talk about these topics, this kind of book really it's such a gentle way of talking about it. It might be an easy way to introduce this topic, and I would say to just take it slow and gentle. So everything is just about like tiny drops and taking care of yourself so that you can be there to take care of your child.
That's so beautiful. And I want to also say one more thing that's included in the back of the book is the Maginu has a wonderful safety star chart for that we have a QR code that you can print it, and you can fill this out with your child, or you could fill it out right in the book if you want, or you can do the printable version. But there's different spots that you can go over with your child who is a safety star adult in their life, and that's like a reassuring thing for them, for you as well, that they know that they have people. I want to share also that we've been slowly starting to share this book with some people, and the feedback that has been coming in is just amazing. I believe this is a must read for every child in every home. The joyful way that that while providing parents with an easy start to these vital conversations, I don't know, just a few of them are just their Torah true lessons geared towards, like this was from a parent coach, an ADHD specialist, geared towards my children and clients. This book is the first book I have seen about body safety successfully geared towards preschool age level. The book is clear, kosher, and empowering for our smallest children. I highly recommend it for parents and professionals alike. Our community is lucky to have this book to guide parents in discussing the sensitive and highly important topic with their young children. The ideas are conveyed and in a refined manner using a Torah lens. Highly recommend. On and on. This book is gold. I'm so excited for it to finally come out this summer, Mirza Hashem. As we close up, I wanted to ask both of you if there's any final thoughts you would like to share, important messages about this topic, about the book, anything you would like to share with our listeners.
I just want to share how grateful I am to Shani for reaching out to me to put this book together with all your wonderful information that you provided me with to write this book. So thank you so much for all the great work you do, and may you continue to help so many people so their souls can fully shine again. Yeah.
Amen. Wow, that's
Amen.
beautiful. And I mean, back at you, right? I mean, unbelievable that this was just such a beautiful project to collaborate on. I am so thankful, so grateful. My message really also, final message is really to parents, to just let them know that, it's really challenging raising kids today. It's getting more and more challenging. And purchasing a book like this for your child is such a gift. And even if that's all you can do on the topic, right? Even if everything else is too difficult for you, I want you to know that even that is something so, so important, and what a gift you're giving to your child in just even allowing this piece to just be there, right? And I know it's really tough, and I know it's really challenging, and you're showing up for your child. Whoever's listening to this, even just the fact that you're listening to this is like you are really showing up for your child. And I give everybody who's doing that like a ton of credit. Not everybody gives us credit as parents, but we definitely work hard. And yeah, and I really do believe that education is prevention. I really do believe that, and I think that this is a game changer. I really think it is a game changer for the next generation of children. I believe that wholeheartedly, because I see the impact of younger kids learning these kinds of messages. I see the way they talk and interact. We'll never know until after 120 how many kids were prevented from getting hurt in this way, but I believe it to be so true. And I give everybody a bracha that you should never encounter something so awful as dealing with something like sexual abuse, and that just in the merit of giving this education to your children, they should all be safe and healthy until 120.
Amen. So beautiful. Thank you for coming together. Thank you for partnering and bringing us this gem of a book. Right now, the book is available for pre-order on our website, growingimpactpublications.com, and Amir Tashem, it will be in bookstores this summer, and we will keep you all posted. The goal is for every Jewish family to have one of these. Like, this is the most special thing that you can do for your family, is to give them the gift of safety. And help us by sharing about this book to your friends, to your families, to communities. We all want our children to stay safe, to stay pure, and to Mirza Hashem continue to grow in the ways of Hashem. And this is one way we can help ensure that to happen. So thank you so much. Thank you for you both giving your time today. May we see wonderful things of this union of you guys coming together, and looking forward to seeing what comes.
Oh man, thank you
So much.
Thank you for joining us today. You can head to growingimpactpublications.com to book Mrs. Goetz for an in-person or Zoom presentation, consultations, and to find her books.
We love getting your feedback as well. You can email us at info@growingimpactpublications.com. And you can hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.